Welcome back to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan, and this week's episode is The Gray Man by Mark Greaney. I'm no solo operator, though. As always, I got my partner in crime, the going Gray Man, Keith.
What an intro. Did you write those down? Or is that just off the dome?
I had the going Gray Man in my head.
Okay. But it's still off the dome. You don't have that scripted?
And first thing I thought about when I actually started reading about this was like, who am I reading this with? Oh, the going Gray Man. No personal attacks here. It's no personal attacks. Keith, how are you, man? How was your Thanksgiving? Good?
Good, yeah. And it's sophisticated dusting of gray hair. Remember that. That's your line that I've been using for the last 10 years now.
It's important. It's really important. Well, for all listeners out there, if you'd like to reach out to us regarding The Gray Man or The Graying Man or any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, so please download and subscribe. But let's get to the book. The Gray Man is the story of an ex-CIA operative turned freelance assassin who finds himself at odds with a pencil-neck paper pusher who's the representative for some large, shady company in the midst of a multi-billion-dollar oil deal. And this cubicle monkey takes the Gray Man's handler hostage along with his family, including his two precious granddaughters. Well, I guess really only one is precious. The other,
yeah, it's only one that's actually important.
Yeah,
actually.
The other one could have died and it wouldn't have been a problem. But the Gray Man, now really out on a limb, must make it through the gauntlet of Europe while being hunted by assassins from all over the world to save his handler and, more importantly, his one precious granddaughter, who he had an affiliation with. That's about it, right?
Yeah, that covers it pretty well, yeah.
Okay, well, this is usually the part of the pod where we crack open a libation before we jump into things. I kind of blacked out during this book, not literally, but forgot if they drank anything. I know they did. I feel like when he went to his buddy's place, they had a beer. And there was definitely times of him being like, God, I really wish I had a beer right now. So I'm just going to enjoy post-Thanksgiving Coors Light and a turkey drumstick. Don't judge me. So if you hear some lip smacking, it's the turkey drumstick. Are you dark meat or white meat guy? Tell me the truth.
I think white meat with gravy on it. If there's no gravy, then dark meat. I don't know if does that make sense?
That checks out, yeah. Okay,
all right. I feel like turkey in general, unless it's on a sandwich, it's whatever. It needs gravy. That's the only way. But which basically just means I like gravy.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I couldn't agree more. If you don't have enough gravy and cranberry sauce, I'm out. Enough turkey talk. Let's get to the Gray Man. Let's go into a favorite scene. This is obviously an action-packed thriller. It's fast-paced, pretty much outside of the opening scene, which kind of sets up who the Gray Man is. It's just this gauntlet of assassins coming after him as he tries to make it through Europe. So between Belgrade and Normandy, France, where did you find that you enjoyed it the most?
I think the first few chapters, they kind of painted him as this Superman type person, which of all the comic book superheroes, he's my least favorite.
It's Übermensch, yeah.
Pardon?
Superman came from German, Übermensch, Superman. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Learn something new every day. What's the point of having someone that's just so good that no one else compares? Superman's only weaknesses is kryptonite, which I don't even know what that means.
How dare you not know what kryptonite means, okay? It's shards leftover from the destroyed planet Krypton, which Kal-El sent his son, Jor-El sent his son Kal-El in a spaceship to Earth. Just get it together.
I still remember that movie where his one weakness is kryptonite, and then he picks up a planet-sized thing of kryptonite and throws it off the planet. Did you see that, Superman?
Bad one. Yeah. Gene Hackman
that was so. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, it was
Kevin
Kevin
Spacey. I'm thinking about the original.
Yeah,
yes, it's Kevin Spacey was. Yeah.
But anyways, so they painted him out to be this Superman, and then the first time where he gets caught with the guy that's faking his passport, and then uses the Dr. Evil button to put him into a hole. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that was my favorite part, because I was like, oh shit, how's he going to get out of this one? And that's really what the book became after that. There's no way he's getting out of this one. You could really see it in your head, and it's it would be a perfect action movie, which you've already pointed out, what Netflix has picked up on. That started out, I think all the other scenes kind of were somewhat similar to that, where you're like, there's no way they're going to this one. And he came up with a ton of original ideas for that. But that first one was what kind of got me back into the book after being like, all right, if there's going to be a Superman.
Yeah, it's like, how is he going to get captured here? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how's this going to work out? And they played it pretty well. He's the gray man. He looks unassuming, everyday guy, but he actually has like a wire in his neck lining that he takes out to saw off his handcuffs. And then, it's like that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, okay, this checks out. I'm enjoying this. For me, it was probably the fight at the cabin in Guarda, which I think is in Switzerland. He goes there to get a bunch of weapons. It's like a safe house that he inherited. That's when they had like the little mesh wall thing on the door, which I thought was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But I just love any sort of weapons cache / like stash house. We had talked about Hatchet, Gary Paulson book on this podcast before, and that was a big book in like 6th grade. We had actually an assignment in 6th grade, which was like, elaborate on Hatchet, either like write a sequel or like elaborate on a scene or whatever. And I went all out. I thought this was the coolest thing. And I basically invented this sequel where the kid stumbles upon some like old military base. And for some reason, there's some clandestine group out there that's hunting him now. And he finds grenades and like all sorts of guns, like Soviet era guns. I definitely failed that project, but I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it reminded me of this. Just like, okay, I'm at a safe house. I have nothing. And then all of a sudden he's opening up these like steel boxes. Like, okay, shotgun, boom, like MP5. All super clean because he keeps his stuff real nice. Grenades latched on. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando vibe. So, and then on top of that, he's got booby traps in place. The like Iranians or whatever, the group that comes to get him, blows himself up. He's shooting his snowmobile out of the shed with a sawed-off shotgun in tow. Yeah, I'm all in. It was like Mad Max in the snow. I'm down.
I think I did the exact same thing. Anytime we had a creative writing assignment, like those short stories, they'd be like, okay, we're going to read the short story, and they'd let you read the first half, and then they're like, you write the second half, and every time it would be, okay, so this is a love story, and then it turns into this huge battle between the terrorists, and I would do that every writing assignment. Yeah. I was basically Michael Scott when he would go to improv, and just all of a sudden, and then he pulled a gun out, and then they started shooting everyone. Every time, I might have failed a couple of those as well, but hey, you got to get your story across. But I also need to call out that your favorite scene. So this is one of my hates, so I'm going to bring it up now, but... So first of all, they like find out that he's going to this small little cabin with all his weapons. I forget who's going trekking through the woods. Is it like the Iranians, or they like trek up this mountain? They go to his house, and I mean, just from a military standpoint, why would you attack the house? One, because you don't know if the guy's in there. He's going there eventually. So why don't you just set up camp and wait till he exits the fortified building and just shoot him right when he comes out? So either wait for him to get there, or because imagine if they just attacked the house and he wasn't in there.
Bro, you're pulling a Scott from Austin Powers right now. Like, no, Dad, I'll grab my gun. I got my gun in the room. We'll go up there. We'll shoot him in the head. It'll be fun.
That's why I was like, yeah, just wait outside. Or, like either way you should wait outside because you don't know if he's in there. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Do you go into his safe house where he probably has some shit going down, or do you fight on your terms?
Thinks he's safe and sound. He walks out there. You shoot him.
Done.
Yeah,
end credits. Roll end credits. Well, come on. You gotta. I mean, you're like my stepdad when I watch a movie with him, and he's like, "That would never happen in real life." It's like, this isn't real life. This is a movie. We're watching a Disney movie. This isn't really gonna happen. This movie's called Up. Like, balloons aren't gonna make this house float.
Once I realized this book is not Mitch Rapp and it's James Bond getting out of crazy circumstances, that's when I started to appreciate it more, because the more and more you think it's like based in this, reality and, oh, this is what special forces guys do, the more and more you're going to be disappointed, because there's so many of these things you're like, all right, why would anyone do that?
100 million %. Couldn't agree with you more about that. And I think that's an important part about this book, is just recognizing that this is more fanciful. Like, it's not something that one person could ever really do. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to gripe on some of those aspects. I got some gripe in me. Let's jump into some stock up. What are you buying?
Stock up, sending a message to the whole league. I need a preface.
Can you break this down for some people that might not understand?
Mostly back when I was in like college or right out of college. Anyone that had wronged me or ghosted me, or I just didn't care for their candor or something like that, or text or call, I would just immediately delete the number. Gone. See you later. So some buddy, I text him and say, hey, what are you doing tonight? Doesn't respond, and find out that he went out to a party and he's like, oh, I should have hit you up. And I'm like, yo, bro, you text you. And then he does it again the next week. He's gone. He's out of my phone book. Deleted. You send a message to the league right away.
And then he texts you back. And you're like, who's this?
Yeah, 100% of the time. So yeah, I've had to do this with a few buddies, and people are like, well, how would you know that they know that you like delete your number?
Yeah.
It's like, they know. You send a message to the league. So with that being said, had my boy, the gray man, only taken my advice and hold his grudge and delete numbers like I did, then right when he finds out that Fitzroy betrays him, then you just never talk to the dude again. Delete the number. He's dead to you. You're out of this whole conundrum. You don't worry about the CIA papers and his kids and all this shit. You're just gone. You never hear from him again. That's what he needed to do. Instead, he calls up and he's like, plays a jaded card and all this stuff. No, just move on, delete the number, send a message to the whole league, stock up.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of interesting that the guy turned on him, and he was just like, all right, I'll still come save you because, like, I had that 1 week with your granddaughter, and she's so damn good at soccer. I couldn't stand it. I got to get back.
And then when he was on that call, he was like, all right, I'm about to hang up. And the guy's like, you better listen. And he's like, okay. He did that like 3 times. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to hang it up now. And they're like, you shouldn't. You're going to better listen to what I say. He's like, all right, I guess I'll listen. What do you? I was like, bro, just hang the phone up.
You talk to me a lot about phone calls. If I'm ever in a fight with someone, like say with my girlfriend, and she's mad at me, I'll just be like, no. You better listen. And she'll stay on. She'll just be like, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah,
what?
I'm sure that will work.
That's a trick. Okay. Send a message to the whole league. Buying the stock. Love it. Stock up for me, veterinarians assistants. I guess we don't give them enough credit for their medical know-how is really what I gathered from this book. Because I'm thinking veterinarian assistant, dental assistant, those are the commercials you see in between Price is Right segments. It's the people that are sitting at home being like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? It's like, hey, come on, check out, ABC Medical. We'll teach you how to become a veterinarian's assistant. It's like, no, they don't know any actual medical stuff. But Justine, she was able to patch up our boy. She was able to, she was down with breaking into pharmacies, like not only their medical know-how, but she was just like, I'm going to break into this pharmacy. She doesn't even know this man. This guy just stumbled on her doorstep, completely bloody, gunshot wounds and stuff. Yeah, okay, I'll rob a pharmacy. I'll stitch you on the highway. I'll hang with you after a crash and support you after you brutally murder some guys, because he like hand-to-hand combat, brutally murders 4 men. And her only question to him was, they were bad men, no? Like, yeah. So you're giving me a leading question. I'm going to answer, yeah, of course. Of course they were bad men. She's like, are you a bad man? He's like, not anymore. There were a couple of those lines in there. So good. But yeah, so if you just find yourself a good veterinary assistant, she'll be able to take care of you and will not question any of your bad deeds. You could be like shooting heroin and she'd be like, oh, B vitamins? Like, what are you taking?
Yeah, I had that for stock down women in general in this book.
What?
But,
the way the book represents women. Got you. You got to phrase that better.
She's driving back home. She's like, oh, I got all this money, but I'm going to be wanted for questioning for this burglary. I'm not going to be able to sleep at night from the 4 murders I just witnessed. That money's really not going to solve a lot of problems you just brought
for
yourself
20 grand or whatever. Hey, veterinarians, pay your assistants more so they don't get involved in any of this stuff, okay? Simple as that.
Yeah, I also thought like the Fitzroy's son's wife just has 0 lines in the book. Just immediately gets drugged up once he gets killed, or his son gets killed. Just like, yeah, she's drugged up. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. You don't need to worry about her.
Yeah, that woman doesn't care about her children at all. She's so frail. She can't possibly manage this grief to take her family out of the situation. Yeah, not a good look for women in this book for sure. But also, back to the veterinarian thing. A side note, they say that the gray man, Court Gentry, he has O positive blood, which I feel like isn't the best blood type for a solo assassin, because in need, you can only get blood from other O blood type people. So things that presumably get messy, as they do in this book. If you're on the ground somewhere in a foreign country, it's like, oh, I need some blood. Some guy's like, great, I got all the A's, I got all the B's you need. Like, what do you need? A positive, B? He's like, no, I need O's. Sorry, don't have a lot of that. Well, now I'm dead. So maybe the U.S. government should start looking into only having universal recipients, which I think is like A positive or B positive. I don't know.
Is a blood type thing one of the most baffling things there is? Is there any evidence behind why you have certain types of blood, why you can transfuse certain types? Do you even know what type you are? I have no idea what I am. I have no
idea what blood type I am. I think my mom asked me that the other day, and I was like, no idea. And she was blown away.
I remember asking when I gave blood, oh, can you tell me what that is? They're like, no. It's like a whole process. Oh, all right. Well, I don't care that much.
Now I'm fucked if I ever need a transfusion.
Yeah. I think that's all made up, to be honest with you. It could just be a whole lie.
I think the O's can give to everyone, but they can only get from other O's. So they must be good, just good people, because they're givers. They're not takers.
But has there been any studies certain types of blood are more likely to have heart attacks or not, or anything? Is there anything around that? I'm interested as to like any other than just giving blood to people. Is there any other thing about that?
You'd have to ask your like hematologist friends or something.
Okay.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person.
All those hematologist friends I have. Kid, you're the one that's supposed to bring the knowledge of this pod. I bring the questions, you bring the answers. That's what we're supposed to be doing here.
You're talking about someone who turned Hatchet into, assault on Precinct 13. I don't know. Okay, so let's blood type stuff. Do you have anything else for stock up?
Yeah, speaking of medical practices and things like that are super helpful, meth, stock up. I know the Nazis made this pretty famous, but I think based off of Court's experience, we should bring this back to the soldiers.
Yeah, well, they kind of do, but...
Oh, do they still do it?
Well, I was talking to your buddy on Martha's Vineyard. He's a fighter pilot. No names here because can't even tell you his call sign. But I was asking him. I was like, oh, so you guys take all sorts of drugs and whatnot? Like, what's the deal? You guys taking meth when you fly? Because that's what I'm interested about. And he was basically like, yeah, we have, if you have like a long trip or there's like, say that you're flying a really far, and I could be talking out of my ass. This is one conversation that I vaguely remember. But he was like, if you're flying like a long trip into then like a place where you're fighting, there's some sort of drugs that like they'll give you. Like you have to ask for them, but they'll give it to you. And
really?
It's not Suda or whatever like the meth is. It's not meth.
Yeah.
But it's a similar kind of just like, it's like Adderall or something, like get up and be ready kind of drug. So
okay. Well, I take it back, but it's still stock up because just to give the context, Court's basically all fucking cut up, stabbed up, shot up, and just
is that a 50 Cent reference?
Is it?
That's from a 50 Cent song. I got locked up, stabbed up, shot up.
Yeah, and then just rips 3 pills of some drug that are equivalent to speed and just is just sprinting through fields, ready to go. And people were like, I remember that they comment on how fast he is the whole time. And I'm like, shit, I need some of this fucking meth that he's been using. They're like, he's a blur through that field. I don't know where he is. The sniper's like, I've never seen anyone run this fast. But I also wanted to bring up some history. Vietnam was a big smoking weed, heroin epidemic. Why do you think we lost that? Yep. We weren't doing meth.
Yep.
Afghan police, big into some weird drugs as well as like opium and heroin as well. Why do you think we lost that war? 2-2. Instead, we know soldiers are going to do drugs. We just should give them the good kinds.
Meth.
Not the fucking slow kind. Yes.
But the backbone for your argument is that the Nazis used it, lost. And especially the Luftwaffe, which lost. Wasn't any planes left in Germany.
I mean, they went like 50 versus 1, to be fair. So they held out pretty long, Not to give Nazis credit, but we're not about that here.
Hermann Goring's super happy right now in his grave.
Who?
Head of the Luftwaffe.
Who's the Nazi here, kid? That's you.
I just read Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. We should do that as a podcast.
Yeah, totally.
It's a long book. It's like 55 hours, so pass. Stock up for me, Kazakhstan. Literally my only knowledge of Kazakhstan was from Borat.
Yeah.
You call it Borat? Are you a Borat or Borat?
Borat.
Okay.
Borat.
I've heard some people say
do you call it?
Borat. I call it Borat, but I've heard some Borats out there.
My name is Borat.
Not bad. Kazakhstan, referenced as the most skilled gunners in this book, which is impressive considering that they also talk about all sorts of other special operations units. And the Kazakhs, it was like, oh, we have the Kazakhs there. They're the most skilled gunners. It's like, oh, really? And I tried to look it up to see if there's any factual evidence. There's a lot of shrouds of secrecy. Lot of shrouds. So they were definitely trained by the Russians, but are they the best? I don't know. But hey, I'm not getting between myself and a Kazakh when there's a weapon involved. Nope. No way. No how.
One second. Is a Kazakh from Kazakhstan, or is it... I just know this from, like, real-time strategy games.
Those are the Cossacks.
Oh.
Right?
Are we sure?
Well, the Cossacks don't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
So...
See, this is why... See, I ask the good questions, you answer them, kid. We're back
as
on...
far as I know. Or it might be like people without a state.
Cossacks are a group of predominantly East Slavic Orthodox Christian people who...
That's like old. We're talking like Napoleonic Wars here.
Yeah.
We're like the Cossacks.
Between 3.5 and 5 million people associate themselves with the Cossack identity across the world. Kid,
there you
still,
go. My bad, people. My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably more of like a real-time strategy game. Like good, they're good horse people, right? That was their thing.
Yeah, they're old. Yeah, old time.
Yeah,
Cossacks. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so I think these are Kazakhs, which is
Okay.
from Kazakhstan. But I also took a leap there. It didn't say like Kazakhs from Kazakhstan. I just went with it. So, did you have anything else for stock up?
Being late. Stock up.
Whoa, no,
So-
no. I don't know if I can buy this stock. Go on.
First off, it serves me well. I'm not the most prompt person in the world. I don't like being there comfortably early. I just like being there. If you say 4-ish, I'd like to be there like 4:15, right? That's 4-ish to me. But the gray man shows up late. It's super beneficial to him. There was no repercussions at all. If they didn't even attack him at all and he came early, he probably gets killed. But instead, all this like havoc's going on when he gets there. People are fighting each other for some reason, which I still don't understand why. But the German dude and the Lloyd dude are fighting each other. It's like everyone's against each other. He shows up. He's like, all right, this was easier. If I showed up on time, I'd be fucked. So showing up late, being late, stock up.
Yeah, good point. And considering we're right on the precipice of stock down, this could be a hate as well. I want to dig deeper into one of the things you said. Why did they start fighting each other? It was like that Simpsons episode when Homer is in trouble with the mafia or whatever, but then all of a sudden the Korean gang shows up and then the mafia and the gang are fighting each other as opposed to him. It didn't make much sense even in that Simpsons episode, and it makes no sense here. I think the idea is like the Nigerian prince is saying, okay, these guys suck. All you assassin groups, $2 million to give me the head of the gray man. You can also kill each other. As opposed to being like, why don't you work together?
And why didn't you just do that in the first place if you knew that people were going to go absolutely all out and start killing each other? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
I was unimpressed. I was unimpressed with that line. Because it was like, that's how he gets freedom to just do whatever the fuck he wants to do. But let's get into stock down. What do you have there?
Using the phone, stock down, I just didn't understand in any sense of the word why Court would call, or the gray man would call his enemies and give them updates all the time. He was just like, oh, by the way, I'm headed like this way. And then he'd always reveal some tidbit every time he called. He would always reveal, like, he's either telling him where he's going, or he would somehow get roped into things, or he'd be like, don't hurt those little girls. They mean everything to me. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, he said something about how, oh, you're being the Nigerian's little bitch right now. And I was like, why would he know that? Like, there's no reason he would know that unless you're just giving up Fitzroy now. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, oh, he must be talking to Fitzroy. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then the worst of all of them is he shows up late and they're like, well, I guess he's not coming. We can get down the fences. We don't need to worry about him anymore. And he calls him and he's like, I'm outside. I'm coming right now. It's like the one time you have the element of surprise, you give it up. It didn't make any... Why is he doing that?
I'm coming in from the orchard. That's me.
You see that sniper? Yeah, he's looking the wrong way. Want to aim him this way? Yeah, here I am. Yep, that's me. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, that annoyed me.
I'm with you there. Okay. Stock down for me, Al Jazeera News. I mean, this is a legitimate news organization. I'm not a big news guy, but Al Jazeera, I feel like it's a legitimate news organization. Yet, the first chapter of this book, they just make it seem like they're a news organization that just celebrates beheadings. They just are there for the beheading, and they keep being like, oh, the Al Jazeera news team. The Al Jazeera news team was there.
Yeah.
Oh, the Al Jazeera news team is watching them strip these American GIs, and they're gonna watch them cut their heads off. Al Jazeera. I was like, shit. Like, is that what Al Jazeera is? Is this like the Islamic State's news agency? But from what I understand, it's like actually a news outlet, right?
Yeah, I think it's it's supposed to be actually very unbiased. I mean, it probably leans a little bit more sympathetic to the Middle East, but I think it's actually supposed to be like super, super like actually trustworthy news source. It's like better than CNN.
Yeah, so obviously there's just not a lot of love by the author for Al Jazeera, but hey,
Yeah.
that's I'm selling that stock because it does not paint a good look for those folks. Stock down for me, corporate bureaucracy.
Real quick, what's the stock level at right now?
I feel like it's pretty high, considering you can't really get anything done, and there's so many middlemen in so many organizations that like it has to get trickled through. I'd say the stock's pretty high.
But you're buying that? You like
No,
that?
I'm selling it because there was none of it.
Wouldn't it be low if that's the case?
Don't try to bring logic into stock up, stock down. All right, now is not the time.
It's very logical. I don't know what you're talking about. It's very simple.
But my point is basically that there is zero corporate bureaucracy in this book whatsoever. Normally, in these kind of situations, I feel like it's one man against this giant machine, and the machine just can't keep up because it's one man making his own decisions. Yeah, where the other side has to trickle it through all these different things. So they're always a step behind. But in this situation, for some reason, they just kind of let Lloyd, which I'll get into later, they just kind of let Lloyd free. And they say, okay, you're our representative. You make all the decisions on the ground. You make all the decisions in the air. You make all the decisions. And there's none of that, oh, okay, hold on, we got to run this through. Can we get all these different assassins? Like, I don't know. Like, let's get on the phone with 20 different places. It's going to take 4 days. It's like, nope, they're all on their way. Boom, done. It's like, can I kidnap these children? It's like, maybe we should check that with HR. Like, is that cool? No, none of that. Just kidnap the kids. We're good. So, corporate bureaucracy, stuck down. I don't care what you say. Stuck down. And my last stock down was the world's elite special operations unit. Or all the units, I guess. Because you get 12 of them from across the world, all hunting for one man. This is the best of the best. 4 of the best teams, like across the world. It's like the most extreme season of Amazing Race yet. But they can't do shit. All they have to do is hunt one man who's wounded. And not one of them can do anything except for one Korean solo operator who manages to stab him.
I was really hoping, too, that the Korean... I thought they were hinting at this. In Braveheart when they charge each other, the Irish and the Scottish, and then they're like, hey, what's going on, man? They, handshake. That's what I thought the Korean was heading towards. Right when his lowest moment, he was going to be like, oh, no, this guy's about to stab me in the dark. And he's like, just kidding, bro. What's up? And they, high five, and they're like, yeah. And then, he helps him out along the way, but... I was really hoping just one person would be pro Gray Man, but not one. We couldn't get one.
It's funny. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was thinking okay, a single shot rings out and it's actually shooting the Afghan terrorist that was behind him or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was ready for that. I was ready for this guy was either part of the CIA or he knew that he was getting exposed in this dossier, or one of his buddies was killed by the company, whatever the case was. I just thought that was a good opportunity to have it on the same side. And you could easily then kill that guy off.
It's kind of like in Star Wars where, a random person will show up and they're like, oh, this is my friend from back in the day, came at the perfect time. He doesn't need to be part of the story, the rest of the story. It's just he jumped in there and he's helped out and, I have boys. I forgot about that.
The guy that used to shoot swamp rats or whatever with Luke. That guy just comes in. Hey, what's going on? Oh, yeah. He's great at shooting swamp rats. Did you have a favorite character in this book? Obviously, the Gray Man's out, if that was where you're going. But
I think you already covered it with the French nurse. Or not
really?
Nurse, the vet. Yeah. She's just perfect, right?
Je suis la jeune fille.
She is ride or die like that, and that's who I want on my team. That is the only person that actually came to his rescue. I also actually like the guy that committed suicide there, or blew up his apartment and just gave him
Maurice.
Money, Mercedes-Benz, fully stocked with everything he could possibly need. That guy was the man too.
Yeah, I feel like Maurice was because we said this is more James Bond than anything else, than Jason Bourne.
Yeah, he was Q
but
or whatever.
He was Q. Yeah, instead of providing court with an Aston Martin, it's a Mercedes laden with 4 cases of well-oiled weapons. Perfect.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
No, you don't need anything else.
I also liked your boy that you referenced earlier, Sabo the Forger. It's funny you said that with the Dr. Evil thing, because A, that's 100% true. And I also thought of him as just like a minor Bond villain. Like, I take passport picture. Now you in hole, you know?
Yeah.
Ha ha ha, Mr. Bond. Everyone's coming for you now. There's nothing you can do. So I like Sabo. And he was just like a man of no scruples. Just didn't matter.
I respect those people. Yeah. You knew where he stood at all times, and that's, you have to respect someone.
He stood for himself. He's going to do whatever made his situation better. So it's perfect. Also, I know we kind of got rid of potent quotables, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this particular line, which was, "I'm coming hard, hold your fire." And I just wanted to say, if I had a nickel for every time a woman said this to me, I would have approximately 2.5 cents. But it's just, when I heard it /read it, I was like, oh my God. If a chick ever said, "I'm coming hard, hold your fire," I'd be like, I can't, trigger's stuck.
And we have our clip again for this week. We're back.
No, that's not allowed. I veto. Hold your fire. Don't come hard. Love, hate. What do you got? What did you love?
At the beginning of the book, threw you right into the action. I actually appreciated that, even though I would have liked to see how he assassinated that guy, since the whole story revolved around that.
Yeah, but my problem with that part is there's very little exposition or like talk about what's happening. It just kind of throws you into the fight, but without explaining the fight, it's just explaining the gear. It's like he pulls out a Barrett 50 cal, which can shoot a 50 caliber round over 2 miles. It's like, who are we talking about? Where are we? What's happening? I don't want to know about his backpack that holds a 50 cal. That part it was a tough intro for me personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I did like the one quote.
"I'm coming hard, hold your fire." Oh, no, different one.
He says, "You're going to have to be nasty to survive." And the guy says, "What about you?" He says, "I'm already nasty." I was like, oh, I just like that. I appreciate that quote. But anyways.
Yeah, I did too. I like that there was a lot of those like, oh my God, just like, really? And that's why it was more James Bond than Jason Bourne, because there was a bunch of those I could have pulled out from the book that were like that. It was like, Dirty Harry or something. I don't know.
A little cheesy.
Yeah,
but
cheesy but fun. But fun.
Part of what I love about this book is it's ultimately the ultimate guy's beach book. You just flip it open and you're kind of in the story, and it's basically like a movie. It's right to the point. There's not a lot of exposition. There's not a lot of character building.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of geography jumping around. There's a bunch of different assassins, all these bad guys and good guys. I mean, I used to read this from the other end. When I was a lifeguard, there'd be these like beach romance killer books that lie around that, you read it and you instantly forget it, but you enjoy reading it. That's kind of like this book. 3 weeks today, I'm not going to remember really what happened in this book, but I just remember, it was a good time reading.
Definitely good time reading. The pace was good, which is one of my loves because we're in there. But this is porn for guys. It's the equivalent of a romance novel for men. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the other end of the coin.
It's 50 Shades of the Gray Man is what it is.
Wow, well done. Well done, sir.
I enjoyed it for what it was, which was a great beach read, but I definitely, when I first started, it was, oh my God, this is romance novel for men. Because like we were talking about how it jumps around all the time and stuff like that. It was like a sporting event or some ridiculous action movie, because us men, we just like can't keep our attention spans for more than like 10 seconds. We're just like dogs chasing a tennis ball. So that's pretty much what it was. So I like that as well.
Yeah. The other thing was just geography. I almost had this as stock up because there was so many. I wish I had been to Europe or been to any of these places they've been. There's so much jumping around and like, again, different assassins from different countries and driving on different highways and roads and adventures. This is why it's perfect for a movie, because there's so many scenes that you could have from different perspectives and different areas.
And it'd be exciting for, if you were an actor, to be like, hey, you want to sign on for this movie? You're also going to spend, a week in Geneva. You're going to spend a week in France. You're going to spend, it's like, oh, okay, I can bring the family. That's not too bad. One of the things I loved, the spy / covert op lingo, trigger man, pavement artist, wet work, material, which I'm sure if I'd read the book, I would have just read it as material. I'd be like, what? But when the guy narrates, he's like, material. I was like, ooh, it sounds exotic. What is material? But pavement artist, if you had asked me what's a pavement artist, I would be like, oh, they're those guys that draw like 3D chalk drawings, you know?
Yeah.
That's a pavement
Are we
artist.
sure it's not that still? I didn't know.
Well, because at first in the book, that's what I thought. I was like, why do they have all these pavement artists? Like, is this a thing? Because I was like, oh, well, European countries, they have a lot of, like, street performers. So I was like, oh, maybe those are their spy network. It's just, like, all the pavement artists. But then I looked it up, and it's just, like, someone that can kind of blend in with their surroundings and not be recognized as surveilling. So that's a pavement artist. But, hey, maybe they have multiple jobs. By day, I draw chalk drawings of Mario, and at night, I search for CIA agents in the streets of Paris.
Both, yeah. Why not?
Let's get into hate. What did you hate?
I already touched on it. I mean, there's not a ton of character development or just like who the Gray Man is, other than
There's literally nothing.
he's a notorious assassin, which gets me into my next point, which is he's a notorious assassin, but that like defeats the whole purpose of an assassin. Like everyone knows who he is. Every single person. They're like, oh, that guy got assassinated. It's like, oh, there's probably a thousand assassins, but it could only be this one dude that every person knows. And they know his handler and they know his description. And how is he a good assassin if everyone knows who he is?
Yeah, he's the least secret, most secret guy.
The worst part, too, is Lloyd shows up to Fitzroy's, or whatever the fuck that dude's name is. I'm going to keep on messing it up.
Fitzroy, yep.
Place, and he's like, listen, this guy's not that big of an assassin. There's a dime a dozen. We need to kill him. Like, we'll give you some money to do that. And then the next sentence is, oh, the reason I knew that he was the assassin is because no one else could do this. He's the best assassin in the world. Everyone knows that. And I was like, you just said a second ago he's a diamond. What the fuck are we talking about here? So that annoyed me.
It was like James Bond, you know? You'd go into a hotel and be like, I'm James Bond. It's like, oh, cool. Who is James Bond?
Yeah.
I'm super secret, but I'm James Bond. One of my hates was just Lloyd, the character himself. I mean, you just referenced Lloyd, but the character just doesn't make much sense to me. It was a total... You had to put everything out of your mind and just believe that, okay, whatever, this could happen, because it's just not plausible. Why is he in charge? It's a multinational organization, and they just let this one guy, this like attorney, take some kids hostages and work freely. This isn't the only deal they have. It's not like the entire company relies on this one deal.
He also fucked up the contract.
Yeah, and he screws up the contract. This could have been in stock down. It's just like lawyers in general, because you blew a contract. And it's also a president who is notorious for asking for too much and not delivering and being cagey. These are the people you get in bed with. So you then fuck up a contract? Also, who follows a contract? You think this guy's really tight with his contract?
Yeah, right.
And then Lloyd also doesn't care about collateral. He's like, I don't care about collateral damage. It's like, we just talked about Al Jazeera. There's other news organizations out there. They're going to be talking about there's, something going on in Europe that they'll pretty quickly figure out, especially if you take kids hostages and you murder them. It's like, oh, some family was murdered. Like, their bodies were found. Oh, wait, they weren't found. It was just teeth. It's like, how many wet work teams would you need to clean up this fucking mess? Why isn't Kurt Riegel leading the charge? He knows exactly how to handle these situations. Instead, they put this low-grade paralegal on it. Nah. I ain't falling for that, Mark. Lloyd made zero sense. He didn't even know what he was doing, and it was supposed to be absurdist, I think. Like a Bond villain. Totally fish out of water, but he's just going with it. But I feel like one of those guys, like Kurt Riegel, would have just shot him in the head and be like, all right, I'm taking over. Like, this is ridiculous. There's no oversight at that corporation. Come on. Everyone's got a boss.
This dude is not grounded in any sort of reality. Like, that's why, again, the Mitch Rapp books, the bad guys are like, oh, I can understand their perspective, even though I don't agree with it. Because they're like, my brother got killed and he, served in these areas and he did this and this. You basically build up this personality around
the bad guy in those books, like, he was trained or he was schooled in an American education system, top of his class, like, went on to then go into the Middle East and became a general and fought in these. It's like, okay, this guy knows what the fuck he's doing. Where this guy's like, exactly. I'm an attorney. I'm a low-level attorney for this company. Yeah. I'm going to fight the Gray Man.
I don't care about these kids. Let's go murder them. Yeah. It's like, wait, what? And the whole thing is we need to kill him because we can't have any bad publicity get released from this Nigerian guy who knows that we do bad things. It's like, so you're going to stop that by creating a shit more bad publicity by just killing random people and like
in the streets,
murdering people in the street? It's like, what? How would that stop anything?
It'd be like if you had a huge thing at work with like a giant client and the person you put on it is the kid who just started. Like, first day on the job. All right, hey, you. I know you screwed up that first task, but now you're going to do a huge presentation for the client, and we're going to figure this one out. That's gonna be fine. So, Lloyd, get the fuck out of here. Hate you.
I also didn't like the typical action tropes where like entering a standoff and being like, did I show up at a bad time? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Instead of just shooting the bad guys, I was like, you travel all this way, you first alert them that you're coming, and then you just show up and you're like, oh, what's up, guys? I'm like, why would you just shoot the dude right away? Mozambique them, which was a great term, by the way. Mozambique these motherfuckers right away. Mozambique, for those that don't remember, that's when you shoot them twice in the chest and one in the head. I fucking love that. That takes me out of the book. It just annoys the shit out of me when like you're doing action tropes, especially in a book. You can understand what they're thinking. You could say all that stuff without having to, say it. When in a movie, you understand why you have to say it because you're like trying to get some. You can't just show up and fucking shoot a guy in the head because it's kind of like be underwhelming. But you can do that in a book without having to do that.
Well, I think, like you said when we first started reading this book, was that it's more of a screenplay than a book. The stuff that's said in it is like ready to be turned into a screenplay. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Anything else on the hate vibe?
The like Lloyd holding the CIA files over his head. I didn't really understand what motivation the Gray Man would have. Again, maybe because we don't have the background on his character, but why would you care? The CIA fucked you over. Know what would be a great way to help out and attack this compound? Know who would be good for that? The people that have a ton of resources that would be most affected by this? The CIA.
Yeah.
Why not reach out to them and be like, yo, this like 16 people here are about to release all the information on all your guys. If you don't go there and attack them, that would be the people you should reach out to. That would take care of that very quickly.
100%. And once again, why I thought the South Korean was like a burned agent or something like that, because it would be like, oh, we're going to get my file out there. But with Court, and granted, we haven't read any of the books in the series. So if someone was listening to this and was like, oh, like, come on, there's like 4 other books and they go into that. But it seems from what we understand so far that he's just a lone wolf. So worst case scenario, he just goes underground again. It's not like he's got concerned about family or whatnot. But hey, maybe it's not. And even, with the Netflix stuff, they said they're going to expand on, different storylines and whatnot. So maybe it's in there. We didn't really get a lot of information as to what else was going on. Because even with that Nigerian prince stuff, Lloyd was like, oh, there's more to that. But I don't think they really talked about that.
The fact that there's like 11 of these books makes me think that it gets more rounded and better and better. I mean, if you add in some of the elements I think we're talking about and keep the same, like, wow, this is a really creative way to get out of something that seems impossible to get out of, I think you wouldn't be taken out of the story as often as I think I was at certain times.
Yeah, that's fair. I also think that there's enough holes in this story where they told the story, like you could follow the story, but those holes could be a fun way to like take future books. So maybe that was his idea in the first place, was like, oh, I have these like unanswered questions that could definitely have made this story a little easier to understand, but also it just helps me expand this universe a little bit. Let's get into some reader mail. We have some reader mail, did we not?
You've got mail.
This is Chris from Kennebunkport, Maine. He said, I love the Gray Man. Just wanted to know, where does he stack up in your rankings of leading action heroes?
Okay. You want to tackle this?
Sure. I mean, I think the Gray Man, just from a perseverance standpoint, is number 1. I think he's the best. Like, in terms of what he went through in order to fucking game up, he's got to be number 1. I kept on being like, so now he's dead? And they're like, no, he just took some speed. He's good. I was like, holy shit, all right, this guy's a fucking gamer.
Did you see that James Bond movie when the guy smushed his balls?
I was the only other thing I was thinking of, which is funny. Like, this guy gets stabbed and shot and, like, isn't sleeping for like 80 hours. But those balls hit, man. That was way worse than this. That's the only thing that was similar. But in terms of actual true rankings, I listed out my top 5, and I think there's some debate around here, but number 1's Mitch Rapp. I just have to go with my boy.
Yeah, of course.
So that's 1. I think that's we knew that. Number 2, Dutch from The Predator. I mean, I really want to take the whole cast, but we'll just take Dutch. But he represents everyone. I mean, the Native American too is the fucking man.
He's so good. I can't remember that actor's name.
If he didn't die, I would.
That actor's the bad guy in 48 Hours.
Oh wow!
That Eddie Murphy movie.
That just for that. Yeah, I put the Gray Man at 3 just again perseverance. Yeah, I appreciated that. John Wick 4. And then Ethan Hunt 5. And I like the Ethan Hunt smarts.
Are we talking like Training Day? What's
Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible.
Oh, Ethan Hunt. Who am I thinking of? What's that actor's name?
Ethan Hawke?
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
There's a bunch of runner-ups, but I think those rounded up my top 5.
Oh, so no Jason Bourne in there.
I feel like he's a ace of all spades, or what is it called? He's a
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
I like ace of all spades.
I'm gonna stick with ace of all spades, but he's not the best at anything. Where all these other dudes are, like Mitch Rapp is the best at everything.
Yeah.
Then Dutch is like the biggest badass, just like a one-man war. Gray Man's best perseverance. John Wick, they killed his dog and he's a revenge guy. I love that. And then Ethan Hunt's like the smartest guy. So those are like why I picked those 5.
Shit.
Ace of all spades is Bourne, where he's like, he's smart, he's good, but he's not like the best at anything.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, talk about reader mail. Like, you send something in. Keith's going to spend a day thinking about this. Just throughout his day, like you do a whole montage of him just like at the grocery store, like picking up a Cheerios box, but really just thinking about like, is he 2 or is he 3? Like, I don't know. I really just thought of him more as like a mix between Jason Bourne and Jackie Chan in Rush Hour. Less Jackie Chan in terms of the martial arts skill, more Jackie Chan in terms of the someone's daughter that really isn't that big of a deal, but like you're going to change your entire life to save them.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That was more where I was going, but and then Jason Bourne from the, I'm going to get out of a tight situation.
Escape artist.
And travel across Europe, because that's pretty much what Jason Bourne does.
That's true. It is very Jason Bourne-esque, yeah.
And he pays that woman like $10,000 to drive him somewhere.
It's very Jason Bourne-esque.
And she just says yes. So this is exactly, now I'm thinking about it. I was like, fuck, this is exactly Jackie Chan and Jason Bourne. Perfect. Done. Mix them together. Well, let's cast this movie. Obviously, this movie was made or is being made. I think filming wrapped in July, so they're probably editing it. This is the year 2021. Welcome. Somehow there's not too much fanfare, I feel like, considering it stars Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, the previously mentioned on the pod, Ana de Armas.
It doesn't have a trailer yet, so I feel like that's when you get it.
It doesn't have a release date either, but it was directed by the Russo brothers, who did a lot of Marvel movies and episodes of Arrested Development and Community. I mean, talk about range.
Oh. Wow, so he's going to have some comedy chops to this, too.
Probably. I mean, you're going to get all those tropes you like. And this had a $200 million budget, supposedly, which is the most ever spent by Netflix. So it's a big movie. And the plan is to build this into its own kind of universe. So they're going to use, stories from other of his books. So props to Mark Greaney. It's big for him, obviously. Nice paycheck for him. And it could be really interesting. I doubt they're going to stick to this story very much based on the cast. Like Ana de Armas, like that woman's in the book for, 2 scenes. It kind of bothers me that they like have to have a love interest kind of thing. Because that's just...
Oh, have you seen the new Bond?
No, I haven't.
Well, spoilers, but Ana de Armas is in it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
No!
Amazing 15 minutes. But I kept on waiting for her to come back. She did not come back.
Oh, my God.
So
that's
very
upsetting.
frustrating.
Yeah. Okay.
She brings absolute fire, though.
Well,
so.
duh. I mean, duh. So let's cast it ourselves. Because Russo brothers, you guys might not know or might need to do some reshoots. So if you want to reshoot the entire movie, listen up. What do you got for a cast of this one?
I really like Ryan Gosling, but I don't necessarily think, unless you're going for like the comedy angle of the lead, I don't necessarily think, because he's either comedy lead, like an action comedy, right? Or he's a drama that doesn't talk very much, like Drive and a few of these other dramas he's done where he's like, deep thought, not really saying much, not really an action hero, more of a introspective, like dark dude, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily like that casting, again, unless they're doing the funny angle, but I think this guy is supposed to basically be Equalizer, the older Denzel, or the younger Denzel, aka John David Washington.
Who's that? Who's John David Washington?
That's Denzel's son. He's in Tenet.
What? Oh, that's Denzel's son in Tenet?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I had no idea. And that's funny because that was my first thought too. I was like, that guy from Tenet would be perfect for this movie.
Yeah.
No way. That's Denzel's kid?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
He has like the same mannerism. If you saw, he's in Ballers. You can really see his mannerisms there that are similar to Denzel.
I don't watch Ballers, but...
Ballers isn't very good. But it's supposed to be basically an Equalizer guy, so you just want a younger version that you can make multiple movies with, bang, John David Washington. I think he's a better fit for me. What about you?
100%. I thought like if you took the beard away from him, that's like who I'd picture. I said Mahershala Ali, and I went with Mahershala because not that Mahershala is a bad looking man. He's gorgeous. There's no question about that. But Ryan Gosling is like stop in the streets, you know, like, oh.
Yeah, he's not necessarily gray man. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not blended.
Gray man's supposed to be like, I can kind of blend into the scenery, you know what I mean? I'm just like walking down. Although I think Mahershala Ali's like 6 something, so like that could change because Gray man's supposed to be just like average height, average build, average guy. I mean, that's the idea, is just like a guy with a backpack on, not looking, you know, conspicuous whatsoever. But yet in that backpack, he's got an arsenal. He's got, you know, saws sewn into his shirt. He's a total assassin, all that cool stuff. So I just think Ryan Gosling doesn't really fit the bit for me. I'm sure he's going to do a great job. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I'm 100% watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that casting. Yeah, I feel like he might be a little too old, right? Isn't he
That's
like
true.
40 plus?
Wasn't really thinking about this multi-series thing. But yeah.
Either way.
I you know what? We're going with your guy. We're going with Denzel's kid. Simple as that.
Okay. Cool. For Lloyd, I actually like the casting. They had Chris Evans. I said Chris Pine or Chris Evans. Both of them good-looking dudes. Both had that, can pull off that smugness. Have you ever seen Horrible Bosses 2? That's kind of who I would think Chris Pine could potentially play the same
and
role.
Chris Evans is basically playing his character from not another teen
Knives
movie.
Out.
Oh.
Or Knives Out. I was like, but yeah, both of them are good-looking, and like you can see that they have some sort of authoritativeness, but you don't think they necessarily deserve it if they play that role.
You got a good daddy's money vibe to him.
But yeah, a very Ivy League, I'm, was born with everything type vibe, which is what basically Lloyd is.
Yeah, I dig it. I actually didn't have someone for Lloyd, but I'll go with that because I'm down for either. The only other one I had was Michael Caine for Fitzroy, but...
Oh, I didn't even do Fitzroy. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Though. That's literally perfect.
Do you know who they cast for him?
No, who's they?
Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. But
is he going to be British?
I don't know. He's supposed to be like a lord, you know?
I was thinking of the guy from the Inside Job. You know the Inside Job, the British or maybe
Clive
German
Owen?
dude? No, the old dude that like has the bank, Christopher Plummer.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You know
yep.
That's what I was thinking. But anyways, I like yours. That's perfect. I mean, you basically bring the Tenet cast together. Let's get what's his name as the director
Right.
here. We're good to
We got
go.
Chris Nolan as the
Nolan,
director.
yeah.
We're back.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah, okay. Do you have anyone else for the cast?
Melanie Laurent. Melanie, I don't know if there's an accent on the E. I don't know what that is. The French actress from Inglourious Bastards as the French vet. I mean, that's just
too
a layup
easy
for her, right?
Too easy.
Yeah, it's way too easy. I think the best casting for this movie by far, German dude. You guessed it, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know he's Austrian, but either way, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, is perfect. Like the savvy vet that's seen this 100 times, but has some young punk running things.
He plays Regal.
Yeah, that one's easy.
I'm down for it. Actually, I read this tidbit recently that was when they did the German version of the Terminator, they had to dub, like you'd think like, oh, Arnold can just do it, or he can just do that character. But basically they couldn't use him because his accent would be like the version of like having a Southern accent for the Terminator. You know what I mean? It'd be like,
Is that right?
yeah. It'd be like, oh, hey, come with me if you want to live.
Is that true?
Supposedly.
That's
It's just, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, this was something I just randomly read, and like maybe not, but basically the bottom line was his dialect just wouldn't work.
The thing is, he has like a deep voice, and he looks like a fucking jacked rip dude. Think of like a Southern jacked.
Yeah, he'd be like, come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, that's basically like a Western, the epitome of a Western guy. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think that'd be an issue, but I don't know.
We're not in charge of these production companies.
Yeah, we should be.
Would you recommend this book to someone who wasn't listening and didn't hear us break it down for the last hour?
Yeah, I think I already said it. It's ultimate beach book for a guy. I wasn't blown away, but I'm 100% going to watch the movie when it comes out, and I'd probably read a second. I wouldn't go out my way to do it, but I mean, that's the ultimate test. Like, would you read another one of these? Yeah, but I wouldn't just be like, yeah, we got to read the next one. Where Vince Flynn, I know I keep on comparing to that, but Vince Flynn, I'm locked in for the next one, ready to go.
Yep, I'm similar vibe. Definitely like a fun beach read. Like we missed this for beach read season, but I guess we're back. But maybe it's cabin read season because, like you said, I probably wouldn't search out the like later ones. But if I was on a ski trip or something and all those random Airbnb ski houses have like books in there for some reason, and they're always like Clive Cussler books and whatnot, they might have one of these, and I would say, yeah, I'll pick it up and, start reading the first chapter or whatnot. I can hang around. So yeah, definitely no Mitch Rapp for me. Didn't blow me away, but yeah, it was a fun jaunt. What do we got next?
Sharp Objects. We'll find out what those are by Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn?
Gillian, I think. I'm excited to read it and then get back on with you and the listeners and have a chat about it, because these things are always enjoyable for me. So thanks for checking in. Take care, all.
Bye now.